Twee keer op my skerm. Colleagues, it's good to see you, and you are welcome to open your screens. We're in a meeting format. We're not in a webinar platform, so you're welcome to share with us how it looks at your side or your office. And yeah, we're going to talk together, talk about the things that we feel passionate about. Our session is yeah, I'm amazed that there's still good people out there working the day before school closes in the afternoon. So kudos to you. We had over 100 registrations, and I think a lot of people are gearing up for the recording, the FEDSAS on demand. My power just went down. Let me just quickly sort that out. My lights went quiet. Let's see if I can make myself a little bit bright again. Julle is welkom om vrae te vra in enige taal wat ons moontlik kan praat, maar ons gaan die sessie in Engels doen. Jared Molko from Yenza is our guest speaker today. And Jared and I know each other for, I think, about 5 years now. Come a long way in the education space. Jared, welcome, and thank you for sharing your time with us today on a very important topic in how I see it. Everyone's talking AI. I just came from the DBE data summit, and the last session was all on AI. And I'm like, we've been talking about this. Jared has been, I think, talking AI for quite a while, and you were on a TEDx talk about the influence of AI and how it can help. But you created a solution for schools, and I want to talk about that today. So thank you for being with us today, and we're gonna have a lekker chat. All the guests, I'm seeing some of my friends, some of my colleagues. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. I want to open up by maybe I'll just introduce myself. I'm Riaan van der Bergh, Deputy CEO of FEDSAS, but also the manager of the Center for Technology. And we're bringing tech to schools for sensible integration of technology for better learning and teaching outcomes. That's what the Center for Technology stands for. We say we've got to learn as we live. Our learning spaces have got to mirror our living environments, what tools we use there, what exposure we got there. And that's what we want to move towards and say, let's use the tools of our time so that we could improve learning outcomes, improve the trajectory our learners are on. And that's what Jared's going to be talking about. I want to share, I thought of not doing slides today, but then I thought, this is such a good quote that I want to share with us today. And let me just get there and open up and full screen. I'm hoping you can see my screen. Tech Talk at 3 with Yenza. Learn as we live is our mantra. We've got to learn continuously as we live, but we also have to mirror our learning spaces to what's available in technology out there. And that's what we're talking about. When I met Jared the first time, we connected and resonated about a few things. His solution, in my shortened version of the answer, was this fixes unemployment in the country. And I want to share this quote by Mark Twain, very well-known writer, wrote Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer and all these children's stories. But he makes a statement: the two most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why. For me, that just explains purpose. We're all here for a purpose. We're all educating learners, thousands of them. In fact, 12.7 million in the grade 1 to grade 12 sector, add about another million in grade R. So we got 13 million children being educated or taught every day. And I hope it's not just for marks and bulkies and achievements and for the test. It is so that they can fulfill their life mission and their purpose and make a contribution and be happy in what they're doing. So yeah, that's for me an important cornerstone, and just, yeah, make a note somewhere to keep this in your mind. The second one is something that, yeah, very dear to my heart. This is June 2024 publication on Stats SA's website, talking about the unemployment rate of youth in South Africa. And it's not youth under 19, it's age 15 to 34. Now I'm thinking that this is unofficial, or it's official, but it's not, that doesn't cover the unofficial hustling of people making a plan. But there's an employment difficulty. Ons mense wil werk en hulle kan nie. Our people want to work, to want to eat, but they also want to make a contribution. And if we don't address unemployment and don't address people knowing what they're good at, what path they should follow, we're just generating test takers in grade 12. But we're still not fixing the unemployment rate. And if you marry the qualification with the purpose, somewhere you're going to get to what I think is a sweet spot of, just joy and happiness. So there's just some stats about that. Youth with experience are more likely to transition from unemployment into employment. So how do we get experience? How do we try things out if we don't know what is out there? So I'm going to stop sharing my slides. I've got the picture of an AI assistant in the classroom. Jared, maybe just as an intro, who are you? Who is Yenza? But just how did you connect with AI? Because it's the flavor of the month. And then just share with us your journey of how you help young people be productive in their lives. Welcome to the stage.
Thanks so much, Riaan. Can you hear me okay? Cool. Yeah,
all good,
so
all good.
Thanks everyone for lending your time. I know it's everyone's winding down, so I appreciate your interest in the topic. My name is Jared Molko, co-founder and CEO of Yenza. Just to give a little quick backstory, so when I used to work at Google for 7 odd years and have been involved in technology for quite a while. And when I left and came back to South Africa, wanted to do something to help solve unemployment, youth unemployment, and actually started out in the recruitment side of things. So helping match the right people to the right opportunities, but at the point of recruiting someone for a job. And very quickly I realized that you're actually entering into the conversation. If you're trying to fix the kind of matchmaking piece better, you're entering into the conversation too late. And really when someone's career journey starts is that really at the point in which you're asking them to choose their subjects. And if you think about it, that's quite a lot of responsibility to put on a young person's shoulders at the age of 13 or 14 years old to essentially decide on what particular career track or career path they want to go down. And very quickly, could see that, learners and teachers and parents are not being supported in the ways that they really need to start pathing people down the right directions earlier on in their kind of career journeys. And that was really the emphasis for starting Yenza. Obviously, so much is changing in the world of work with technology and with AI. And a lot of, whilst I'm very passionate about education, the education sector and system is often quite far behind in terms of what's actually happening in the world of work. And so, that was also another reason for doing Yenza, which is, without looking into the magic 8 ball or the magic glass, how can we prepare young people for a very uncertain, very fast changing, very disruptive time? And how can we give them the necessary foundational skills and attributes that they need to succeed in those kinds of environments without predicting what's going to happen in 10 years' time? Because if anyone tells you that they can do it, they're lying.
Jared,
and
Jared,
so that's again, yeah.
Can I quickly interrupt you there? For kids to know how to navigate this disruptive time is what you said. We can't continue to do what we used to do and think that's going to be okay, because the speed of change and the disruptions are too big. Are you finding that disruption is difficult to manage with the old tools? What do you think we should do to equip kids for this, not for their careers, but careers in a disruptive time? How do you marry those two?
So I mean, it boils down to cultivating the right attitude, mindset, and helping young people with the critical foundational skills. So I don't want to jump the gun in terms of the presentation that I'm going to take people through, but I definitely cover a lot of these topics.
Okay. Yep.
But yeah, there's a few things that are critical to preparing it, and what people typically call transferable skills. So skills that you can easily take from one career field to another field to another field, that gives you that resilience and that adaptability to pivot essentially in your career journey. The days of picking a career path and being in a particular career field for 20 years is over. The Oxford published a paper not so long ago saying that it's predicted that people will change their career path, so their actual vocation, 3 to 5 times in their career, which is, one day I'm a graphic designer, the next day I'm a photographer, the next day I'm a content writer, the next day I'm an art director. People will be switching careers a lot. It's not this high stakes thing anymore of I pick a single career and I'm going to be an accountant for the next 20 years. Things are just changing too quickly.
Yeah, maybe I can just add there. We played a game at a braai the other night and asked people around the table, and we were a fairly big group. It was a rugby game, so braai before the rugby. And we asked people who is still doing what they studied. And the studies weren't wrong. They still use that foundation, but they've pivoted more than once. Now, I'm slightly older, so, but very few people in my circle of friends or around that braai were still doing what they studied and what they qualified. They didn't forget what they did, but they pivoted into completely different sectors or industries or even jobs. So yeah, that's and maybe the audience can ask themselves, who of your friends are still doing exactly what they studied?
So yeah, I think probably a good segue now, Riaan, if it's okay, I can open up my presentation and kind of run through a few slides.
Lovely.
I don't think the stuff that I'm going to go through is going to be profoundly new to anyone, but I do want to try and tell a little bit of a story. Okay. Can you see my screen?
All good, all good.
Cool. So, I think you intimated to it in the intro, but if you think about the choices that we make in our lives, I could make a very strong argument to say that the career choice is the most important choice that you actually make, in terms of the impact that it has on all other aspects of your life, where you live, the kind of partner that you can find, your mobility in life. Career choice is extremely important. And I would also argue that especially in the high school space, because we have such an emphasis and focus on academics, that we are not doing nearly enough with regards to supporting young students with regards to their careers, their career paths, planning out a path, figuring things out, and really going deep into this particular discussion. But yet it is such a critical choice and ultimately what we're preparing young people for. So in a nutshell, it's never been more exciting and also more challenging to pick a career path. There's so much going on. Younger people have different sets of expectations. It's not just about making money. In previous years, the equation for young people was probably easier, which is, I want to go to a career where I can make the most amount of money. And I'm not saying that still isn't a very important factor, but younger generations, Generation Y, Generation Z, they're motivated by other things like, how flexible is it? Is it aligned to my values? Am I going to feel fulfilled? What's the cultural context? Young people are really considering a lot of these things. This is why you have such a big movement in the freelancing, digital nomad, gig economy. Young people are choosing these options because it affords them the kinds of lifestyle and flexibility that they want, and they will sacrifice money for it. So there are a lot more things to factor in and consider. Now, whilst it is a very exciting time, the more options that you have in any situation means it's more complex. So it's not a traditional route into the world of work anymore, where you go from K-12, you get your 3-year diploma, your 4-year degree, and then you get a job. There are many other alternatives. I know many people that either have dropped out of school or not gone into higher ed, done online courses, done short courses, got experience, started freelancing, have done a side hustle business, developed the necessary skills that they need, and are very successful. So it's not, when we're talking about career paths and career pathing for young people, it's not as linear as it used to be. And so again, whilst it's exciting, it gives people more optionality, more alternatives. It also is confusing and complicated, and warrants, careful consideration and discussion. And I mean, this is a given. The careers landscape is changing extremely fast. Technology is disrupting everything. It's not a category anymore. It's pervasive across everything. The median lifespan of knowledge work, and so knowledge work is like subject matter for doing stuff essentially behind the computer. The median lifespan of that is around 2 to 5 years. So every 2 to 5 years, that information is outdated. So essentially what that's saying is that what you're learning in first year university is likely to be outdated by the time you get into the world of work. That's how rapid knowledge and information is evolving and changing. That also means that we have to figure out new ways of doing work, new ways of creating value. And as Riaan intimated, there are new careers popping up all the time, different kinds of careers happening all the time. And that's something that we try to keep a very close eye on and a close pulse on, because a lot of the time parents and students are not aware of a lot of the options that are out there. We've done quite a lot of surveys in schools, and when we go into schools and we ask students and we ask teachers to list your top 10 most exciting careers, and 8 out of 10 times what we get back is what we call legacy careers. So careers like accountancy, lawyer, surgeon, nurse, dentist, these are well-known legacy-based careers. We don't get a lot of the new careers that are popping up. Being a drone operator, as an example, is a very high growth career. Now, kids that enjoy gaming or very good with using consoles, that have developed the skill because of their passion for gaming, might feel like, okay, well, there's nothing that I would be interested in. But did you know that a drone operator in agriculture is one of the highest growing careers in the world? And everyone looks dumbstruck when you say something like that. And that's the problem. And that's where the gap of career, what's happening in the careers landscape, needs to be addressed. Just using the video game example, being a video game designer and having that skill is also a very high demand skill. So, if you love video games, it's not to say that you're doomed for failure. You can actually just leverage the skill that you're acquiring and the passion that you have in a career that is sought after. And there are many examples of this across all areas. And that's why it's so important to keep abreast of what's actually going on. The other thing, which is critically important is addressing the gap between career reality and career expectation. This is another problem area that, we come across quite a lot. And, here's a very basic, but I would say understandable example. Again, when I go into schools and when our team goes into schools to support rollouts, we ask kids, who in the class really knows what they want to do for their careers? And generally you get about 20% of the class, 30% of the class put up their hands. And often I hear a young kid, a career that comes up often is, I want to be a lawyer. So then I ask again, I probe a little bit. So why is it that you want to be a lawyer? And if the kids are being honest, which is not always the case, obviously, but if they're being honest, it's because either they think they can make a lot of money, or they love the TV show Suits and they want to be like one of the lawyers on that TV program, or it's just about the status that it comes with. And then typically a very smaller percentage are motivated for the right reasons. So then I ask the following question, which is a very basic question. Do you enjoy reading books? And the answer most of the time is no. So then I say, well, do you know that if you want to become a lawyer, you're going to have to read many, many, many hundreds of pages of very dry, very technical, very boring, typically books to be able to pass exams and be able to become a lawyer? Is that something that you think you'd be prepared to do? No, I don't want to do that. Now, that's again a very, very basic misunderstanding of what would be required of you if you wanted to pursue a particular career path. And the problem is that young people don't know what they don't know. And these conversations are not being had in the right way to basically say, look, you're interested in this, but did you know that this is what it takes and this is what's required of you? This is how long it's going to take. This is what you'll need to do, et cetera, et cetera. And these conversations need to be had earlier on so that a person is essentially preparing themselves or feels comfortable with the choices that they've made. I'm not going to go too much into this slide. It's a typical slide that I use when I tee up the kind of reality of why we're doing what we're doing. What I will say is that generally speaking, there is a massive shortage of qualified career counselors or qualified people to learners. It's just a human capital shortage. There's just not enough qualified people to give high quality career guidance. And if the people that are qualified, it's often very costly to be able to get that kind of service. And so there's a real need, especially with career guidance. And the other thing at a macro level, and this is where I see our contribution, let's say, to assisting with youth unemployment and just generally the kind of macro impact, is that when you have poor career alignment or job fit, it has major negative compounding effects, which are often difficult to quantify. But here's a kind of nice summary. So the negative effects of making the wrong choices is, of course, poor academic performance. If you're choosing the wrong subjects, you're not going to perform well in them. Waste of crucial time. So when I give talks and presentations, I typically ask the audience, everyone has generally heard of what's called the half-life crisis. When you get to about 40 odd years old, you start to have a little bit of an existential crisis. Not everyone, where you're questioning, what am I doing with my life? I'm not going to live forever. Have I made the wrong choices or the right choices? It's a well-documented thing, the half-life crisis. What is less well known but well documented is the quarter-life crisis. And the quarter-life crisis happens around 27, 28 years old. And what that is that a young person has decided to study something that they shouldn't have studied and just did it for whatever reason, have now gotten into the career field in the world of work, and have started working for a couple years and have realized that they've made a mistake. And they are 27, 28, and they realize they've made a big mistake and they have to start again. And so what has happened? They have wasted the most critical and essential commodity that they have in their prime, which is their time. Let alone the money, of course, but crucial time is wasted through poor choice. There's big switching costs, of course, which often the parent has to take, delayed career progression, and of course psychological stress. Now, this is the thing. What you see over here is happening way more than you would like to think is happening. I would, if I was to make a bet or an assumption, I would say this is happening to at least 60% of our youth, which is quite significant and quite considerable. And so if you get this right at early on, you can avoid the negative compounding effects of poor choice, essentially. I put this slide in last minute after chatting with Riaan before the webinar, and it's also just to say that part of the goal of what we are trying to achieve with Yenza is to build up self-confidence in young people, encourage them to become lifelong learners, and to help them to reach their potential and essentially move them from their comfort zone through to their learning zone into their growth zone. This is where people find meaning, fulfillment, they're driven, they're motivated. And this comes down to what I was talking about right in the beginning. It's very easy to get lost in the whole hype cycle around AI and technology, and we're being disruptive and what's happening. But actually, when you kind of get rid of the noise, it ultimately comes down to something like this. We need to just have people that understand themselves, feel confident, feel motivated, build up that resilience and that character and that attitude to tackle the world of work or their career journey. And that's really what we're trying to do. This slide, I'm not going to go through too much. You can kind of breeze over it yourself. All I would say on this slide is the end point, which is when it comes to technology and automation, what's happening now is that anything that is repetitive and predictable, that has patterns or routines or is predictable, is in the direct firing line of automation. And it's blue collar, white collar. No one is safe. Let's put it that way. But what it means for us as humans is that we have to focus on higher order skills in order to create value. So we have to up our game, basically. And if you would to kind of summarize what I mean by higher order skills, I'll kind of talk through them in the next 3 slides. One avenue to understand it is through this slide over here, higher cognitive. So higher cognitive is typically, instead of doing something where you're just, let's say, analyzing information, you would need to be able to synthesize information, right? So how can you take information from different areas and tell a story? So that's a higher cognitive application of being analytical and then also being able to communicate. Higher cognitive activity also comes into storytelling, visual representations, and of course, synthesis. Not to say that any of the other things are not important. Of course they are. You need to be able to do those things. But we have to level up in terms of creating value. Social and emotional, I would say, is probably is important now, and it will continue to become more and more important. So what do humans do best? Humans connect with other humans. We're social creatures. So leveling up on our social emotional skill, being able to communicate, being able to have empathy, being able to tell stories, being able to influence, these are going to become critical skills. And of course, you have to have strong technological skills, because everything is and will be technologically based. One of the best phrases that I've heard thus far with regards to AI is that people will not be replaced by AI. They will be replaced by people who know how to use AI. So we have to develop the skill, the aptitude, the comfort, the literacy, the willingness, the openness to embrace these technologies, because if we do not, then you will be left behind. Now, if I was to kind of get forced into a corner and someone say to me, okay, look, there's lots of things that one can do, and there's these kinds of skills and those kinds of skills, but if you put a gun to my head, put me in the corner and said, which skill or which aspect is the most important aspect to develop, I would say it's a person's metacognition. So by metacognition, we're talking about the ability to learn. Learning how to learn is the most important skill that you can have. Being a good learner, doesn't matter what you're learning. It's just the ability to learn, knowing your preferences, being curious, having that open mindset to continuously want to learn, learning how to learn, and then having a growth mindset. So the growth mindset is that willingness to take risks, willingness to learn from mistakes, willingness to pick yourself up. And this builds the necessary character that can not just survive in a very disruptive, uncertain, and complex environment, but can thrive. So this goes to what I was saying earlier, which is we could have a very different discussion around 21st century skills and future skills and AI and all of these wonderful things, and I can have a very technical conversation with you. But I actually believe that the future is changing so fast, and it is so hard to predict, that if we just focus on really bedding down the foundations, then we're building solid ground for young people and for ourselves to adapt and respond to a changing environment. And I would say that, when you think of what's going on in schools with younger people and social media and various other things, we need to place more emphasis on building stronger, more resilient, more adaptable characters and attitudes and mindsets. I've spoken, I speak to a lot of people with regards to their careers and their career journey. And you can tell the difference between someone who has got the right attitude versus someone who might have access to all the resources, all the information, all the services. None of that really matters if you don't have the right attitude and the right character. So someone, as an example, I'm speaking to a young person, and they told me, look, I wasn't sure what career path I wanted to go down. So I reached out I asked my parents, they connected me with a couple of people. I then asked to get connected to a couple other people. I spoke to them, I had a great conversation. I sent a follow-up. They connected me to another person. That person offered me an internship. And now I've got an opportunity to work in this company. Now, that's someone who's got the right attitude towards their lives and their career journey, versus someone who's like, here's everything that you need on a silver platter. The person that receives everything on a silver platter is not going to do well in when they leave, you know, into the world of work, it becomes a far more difficult environment to navigate. And that also goes to core to what we are trying to do, which is to help young people to better navigate for themselves. So the analogy that I give here is, in a fast changing world, when, you know, if you are going on a journey and things are changing all the time, the roads that were there are no longer there, the signposts that used to be there are no longer there and they've moved. What is more useful for you to go on a successful journey? Is it a map or is it a compass? And the answer is, if things are changing all the time, a static map is not useful. A compass is more useful, because a compass gives you a directional sense of where it is that you want to go. I want to go north, west, or south, east, and I'm just going to go in that direction and see where it takes me, and I will tackle all the things that happen along that journey. And so what we're trying to do for young people is to give them a sense of they can navigate for themselves. They can course correct when the time comes, because no one else is going to do it for them. So then just a little bit into the Yenza approach and the Yenza, I would say, offering. So firstly, when it comes to guiding people and career success, people have different thoughts about this. You know, does a young person follow a career path just because they're good at it? Do they follow a career path just because they're passionate or interested in it? Or is it more? So this Venn diagram is based off of a lot of literature that says that the chances of someone succeeding in their career is essentially if you can figure out the intersectionality across somebody's interests, their passion, their personality, their ability, and then you also factor in environment. Now, when all of these factors are in place, the chances of someone succeeding is significantly higher than just one of these factors not being in place. So there's actually quite a lot, if you think about it, to consider. And it's not straightforward, but at the same time, I think this kind of illustration helps with thinking, because you can't just say, I'm super interested in design, but I don't actually have very good spatial and pattern recognition, and I don't have the natural aptitude to be a great designer. I could just have that as something that I appreciate, that is a potential hobby for me, but that should not be my vocation. But if I'm just really good at a particular field, like I'm really good with numbers and I get into accountancy, but I'm not applying that into a space or a thing that is meaningful to me, then I'm not going to go the extra mile. I'm not going to kind of make the sacrifices or put the extra effort in when times get tough. Same goes for, do I have the natural traits and character and values, or is it an environment that I actually want to be in? So we factor all of these things in. The Yenza platform is designed essentially to be an end-to-end careers platform. We're trying to take all the different pieces and essentially put it under a single, in a single solution. What we've become real leaders in is the assessment space. So a learner will come onto the platform, take these very fast, very interactive, sometimes gamified assessments, and get a real good understanding of who they are as people. Our platform then matches and makes recommendations to individuals based on their best suited careers and career paths. We do a lot of assistance with subject choice and tertiary choice. We use what we call navigator tools for these. And everything on the platform is non-prescriptive. So we don't tell someone what they should or shouldn't do, because then we're just falling into the trap of a young person not having to actively engage in their own career journey. So we make recommendations, and we make the platform very engaging and enticing and motivating, and we always get feedback how much the students really enjoy going through the platform. We also partner with various online course providers, so we help with skill development. You can access hundreds of different kinds of courses, from early career courses to soft skills to technical hard skills. You've got tools to plan your career. We've got various support services, and we are playing around with AI, but also linking people to mentors and coaches that they can speak to as well. What's also not on the slide, which we're very excited about, is that we are a multilingual platform, and we are about to launch the entire platform in Afrikaans. So you can go through the whole platform, everything in Afrikaans, which should be launched in the next couple of weeks, which we're very excited about. And yeah, that's a wrap. For anyone that's interested to see a bit more, you can visit our website. You can also email us if you want to do a demo. hi@yenzacareers.com, or visit yenzacareers.com, and you can book a demo straight from the website. And yeah, that's it from me. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Jared. Yeah, you can leave that or just type that into the chat box as well. hi@yenzacareers.com. I think it was the address, just the right email address in the chat box for everyone to contact us. Jared, I want to pick up on something. The first one is that you spoke about education, is to train us to learn, learn how to learn. I think it was Albert Einstein that said education is not the learning of facts, but the training of the mind to think. So that really speaks to what we need to be doing. and in future, well, even today, I don't think companies employ paper. They employ people. But yet we're chasing a paper. We're chasing a certificate, a diploma, a qualification. And someone that knows themselves well, I think can portray skills, can portray personality, can portray contribution rather than. So it's far more employable if you know who you are than just know what you qualified as. I think you're very modest. I have to say this on your behalf. I haven't been to many trade shows or events where there was a competition on innovation where Yenza didn't win or was one of the top 3 and always nominated. So we are homegrown. We have an African-born solution that's competitive internationally on the innovation curve. And yes, obviously your modesty is not shining that through, but I think it's brilliant that you've been winning these awards because of the innovation boundary that you're pushing. So well done on that. I want to pick up on something on the compass. Compass versus map. I have a 13 and a 14-year-old child. For the last 3 years, I've been teaching them 2 things. And I want you to comment on that. Maybe I might have been missing the point, but I believe I'm not wearing a watch. I don't have a watch. I wear a compass on my belt clip with my car keys because I'd rather want to get to the right place, even if it's late, than to the wrong place on time. And that's what I'm framing for my kids. Let's not get qualification. Let's get character, identity, and purpose. And identity will suit you in the new economy. With things changing fast, if you know who you are, you can adapt the task. But if you're just a task and your task is your identity, and that task falls away or gets automated, suddenly you are nowhere. And that's what I'm hearing in between, helping learners find out who they are. Then they can do anything rather than finding what their tool is, if they have a tool, and then when the requirements of the tool changes. Did I hear you right? That's kind of the philosophy of driving it, adaptability to the change.
Absolutely. You definitely heard me right there.
So we don't want to teach tasks, we want to teach identity. Jared, you have an offering for schools. Schools can contact you. Yenza is a great product. You've got I think it's still a special offering for FEDSAS schools. They can contact you. How does this deploy at school? Who do we need to share this information with? Is it the LO teacher? Is it the career guidance person? Is it the deputy principal? Who's the ideal person at school that needs to get this information so that there's a trigger of, we've got to put the grade 9s through this before they make subject choices. We've got to help the grade 11s. Maybe just share a little bit of how to deploy rather than just, I mean, the masterclass of information is brilliant, but how do we, oh, it seems like Jared just lost Wi-Fi. Oh my goodness, he's rebooting. Okay. In the chat box, I copied the link to the FEDSAS Tech Talk magazine. Hopefully Jared will join again. The Tech Talk magazine has an article of their special offer for FEDSAS members only. We're bringing you extra value as FEDSAS to our members. So just go have a look at that. I'm not sure, it's fairly early on in the magazine, where we need to implement, and they've got a great deal that's probably half the price of what people would be paying for the paper-based test. And I'm not saying take that away. This is an additional tool, but it comes with a different angle, and the AI helps them, and it's an ongoing thing. It's not a once-off snapshot of your career choice. You can redo the abilities and the skills and the personality tests again and again and build yourself a profile. They also have a ton of information on careers. My friend, well, my kids' friends, they're in grade 7, grade 8, and they're talking, I want to be this when I grow old, and I want to be that when I grow old, or when I start working. And I asked one of the guys, so you say you want to be a CA, what does a CA do? So ek weet nie oom, I don't know oom, but I want to do it. You know, so you can go read on what the job shadowing is basically on paper. Alreta, I don't know if you'll let me know if Jared is in again. If there's any questions from the floor, I just wanted to make sure that you've got the information on who to share this with at school and what to do with the information and how to onboard. Any questions? Enige vrae? Julle kan gerus julle kameras oopmaak. You may open your cameras, your mics. If there's anyone, I'll try and field the questions and see if Jared comes in again. He just sent me a WhatsApp to say Wi-Fi down. Any questions? Opening up your, I'm just checking the
there's
yes,
two
is there a
in the
question?
chat box.
At what age can a learner come to you? I think they're starting at around grade 7. I think it's fairly relevant from that age onwards. Grade 7, I think, is where we start figuring out identity, career path, skills and ability. So as far as I know, grade 7 learners are already included in their cohort, but obviously with a strong focus on helping the kids in subject choices in grade 9. So it's budget time at schools now. It's still time that you can possibly do it this year. I don't think it's a huge expense for 2 grades to jump in and just affirm that subject choice. But if you need to budget for next year, you know, put aside something. You can have the parents pay for this service, you know, pay the school like we do with the people that do the testing in the hall, or you can just serve your community and say, this is not a very expensive solution if you're doing it from the school based on. So yeah, high schools will gain a lot, but I think grade 7s. I don't see the second question, Alreta. What is the second question? Is the service available for individuals as well as only for schools? There we go. Yes, it's in, I think you can sign up on their website, Yenza website. Just go Google them. So it's business to business. The school is the ideal place because it comes with guidance, but the a parent can just, and I'm sure if you email Jared tell him you saw the masterclass, he's helped me with some friends and given me a test code just to test it out and see the value for it. But I don't think I think it's like 300-400 Rand. I can't talk price now. I don't even know what's in the magazine there. But yes, you can sign up as an individual. 100%. Any other questions that came through, Alreta? Nothing else there.
Nothing else,
Like
just the 2.
Jared just typed in the WhatsApp. Looks like his whole area's Wi-Fi might have gone down. He can't get connected with a strong enough connection. So we might as well just close. We're going to share this information with everyone that was online and everyone that registered. And make sure you send it to the right person at your school. He didn't get to answer that question, but I think school leaders figure out who's the right person to deal with. There's got to be money for it, and then it's got to be rolled out. Someone's got to be championing the career choices, the guidance at school. So from my side, apologies for the Wi-Fi that dropped in Cape Town where Jared is. Thank you for taking time the day before school's closed. Dankie dat julle hard werk tot op die laaste, shoulder to the wheel. I hope you have a wonderful last day of school tomorrow. Go find Yenza online, look at the magazine, and see the special offer there. And yeah, put your kids through this, and let's get our kids to live with purpose, with identity, and with a compass to take them somewhere that they can navigate this fast changing world that we're living in. Thank you so much. Dankie Alreta for being in the background. Have a great day. Thanks everybody. Take care.